Matos. I'm an assistant professor of marketing. I joined Roger Williams in 2015, in January 2015. And I actually teach a series of advertising classes, some of which we'll get into. I also teach a sports marketing class that I've begun to offer over the last couple semesters. Prior to coming back to academia, I actually had 20 plus years of experience in the marketing industry. I was director of marketing for Coppertone and Dr. Scholl's. While at Fisher-Price, I helped launch the Rescue Heroes business. Some of you may have actually played with those toys. And my last job in industry, I was the senior vice president of marketing for New Era Cap. That company makes the official on-field cap for Major League Baseball, for the sideline cap for the NFL, and does licensing for all the other sports leagues as well. So one thing to note with regard to the Gabelli School of Business that we always like to talk about is that the Gabelli School is AACSB accredited. AACSB stands for the Association for the Advancement of Collegiate Schools of Business, and less than 5% of the business schools worldwide actually achieve that status. It's a very rigorous accreditation process, and we're proud that we are one of those schools that are AACSB accredited. You know, one of the things that we just want to talk about is with regard to kind of what makes the Gabelli School of Business, GSB, different. Look, every school, the reality is there are lots of schools, and you know, there's a school that's right for every student. I truly believe that. And what we want to just talk to you about is what are we about, kind of what makes us unique and different, and hopefully then you can judge whether or not we're a right fit for you. What we pride ourselves on is a personal attention. You know, I have some schools, not all professors act as advisors to students. I actually do have advisees. In fact, Hailey Watt, who will be talking to you, I've had Hailey as an advisee since her first year on campus, and have been her advisor that entire time, and have actually had her now in for 4 different semesters, a bunch of different classes where I've been involved with Hailey. Another thing that we pride ourselves on is the ability to get early exposure to your major. We think that's really important for you to be able to touch your major class and make sure that it's the right fit for you, that you're not spending a couple of years doing kind of just core classes and then ultimately, you know, getting into your major class and then figuring out, oh, that's not really what I want to do. And then the last thing, which we'll touch on quite a bit today, is our focus on experiential learning. Of course, there are, you know, fundamental classes, there's books that need to be read, lessons that need to be taught, but where we really think we differentiate ourselves and really focus on is getting your hands dirty, a really practical application of the marketing concepts that you learn in order to put yourself in a position where you're going on the job market and actually having a slate of experiences and skill sets that you've developed in order to actually compete in the marketplace. So the way we focus on that experiential learning is we're going to take you through a number of different examples. A big portion of this will discuss the National Student Advertising Competition. That's a competition that I lead in with my ad campaigns class at the high level. There's Community Partnership Center projects. You may have heard about the Community Partnership Center. We'll talk about some of the projects that I have been involved with and that some of the students have been involved with. And then even classes where there aren't these external experiences, we make sure that the class projects are experiential learning in their capacity, and we'll talk about that as well. So I mentioned the National Student Advertising Competition. It's run by the American Advertising Federation. Every year the AAF finds a sponsor. They tell students at universities across the nation, this is the objective that the sponsor is looking to achieve. These are the budgets that you have, and this is the target audience. And then it's the student's responsibility to actually develop a fully integrated advertising campaign. I first started working on this when shortly after I joined Roger Williams And the first brand we worked on was actually Snapple. And the students worked, the first semester, they do all the research associated with the work. So, we're given a slate of information from the brand and from the AAF, but we have to determine what research do we need to do. Are there surveys that we need to develop and interpret? Are there one-on-one interviews that we have to do? Are there taste tests that we should conduct? A competitive analysis. And then in the second semester, we developed the actual advertising campaign. This was our first time that we had been competing in a number of years, and we were pretty pleased that we were able to finish third in our district. We compete in the New England district, and I think the students developed a great overall slogan, which was "Snap out of the ordinary." I'm still convinced that Snapple would do well to actually go back to that slogan. I think it was a really powerful idea for the brand. And we felt really good about being able to perform and finish in third place after not having been involved for a couple of years. The next year was the brand Taipei. If you've never heard of the brand Taipei, don't worry, it's not a brand that you really should. It's a brand of not particularly good tasting Asian frozen food. One of the things that the students learn early on is that you don't get to choose what brand you're advertising, which is good because that's the case in the real world as well. While I had some great brands that I worked on for Coppertone and New Era Cap, I also had to market insoles. Not such an exciting product to be advertising. So the students got this case. It's a product that people were unfamiliar with. They were trying to position themselves to appeal to millennials. So the students developed a campaign that wanted to speak to millennials in millennialese, I guess. They really felt that it was important to try to connect with millennials with language that they would be comfortable with, that they would appreciate, and we chose to go down a humor route. And I'm actually going to show you an ad. I'm going to link to an ad, so I'll have to manipulate the screen. Where it's going to take us to is actually a student who was in the class, his website. He now works as a copywriter at one of the largest digital ad agencies called iProspect. And this is his website that he had developed to showcase his work in order to land that job. So it'll just take me a little bit to manipulate this page. Let me go to a new share. You should now be seeing Justin Bradley's homepage. If you're not, please, somebody let me know that that is the case. This is Justin's portfolio, and I'm just going to click down here and show you the ads that were created based on, and this is actually Justin who decided to star in the ad as well. And again, the idea here was appeal to a young millennial audience in language that they would appreciate and that they would respond to.
Jim realized he was better than basic, and it was time to dump his boring foods. As a bold adventure seeker in crisis, Jim needs to explore his options. Nope. Hard pass. He needs something as bold as he is. Like Taipei's variety of 26 Asian-inspired apps and entrees that bring out his adventurous side. 7 foods? Savage. Way to go, Jimbo. Taipei, uncover an appetizing adventure.
So that was the work that was created for that campaign. I will show you the other 30-second ad. It's important to note, this is entirely student written. It's entirely student filmed. They copyright it. They art direct it. They do everything associated with developing this campaign. They came up with a tagline, uncover an appetizing adventure, to position the brand in an interesting way. And here's the other 30-second ad.
Being basic has plagued our generation. Every day, boring eating habits are putting bold adventure seekers in crisis. No filter will make those leftovers taste better, Jim. I would know. I used to be basic until I tried Taipei. Bold flavor as adventurous as me? Stop it right now. 26 Asian-inspired apps and entrees? I can't even. Taipei, uncover an appetizing adventure.
So again, that was the work that was created by the students for that campaign. Let me go back to the PowerPoint presentation. And we were fortunate enough to finish in second place, having moved up a spot that year. And then the next year, the students competed in the competition again. And this year, that year, it was the brand Ocean Spray, a brand that we felt more familiar with, that has a big following. But at the same time, one of the issues was that that brand was appealing more to people like me, older, than people like you on the call, younger. And so they really wanted to transition to get a greater sense of relevancy to the brand, a greater sense of connection to the brand. The brand has relied for a long time on two not real farmers in a bog, which just reinforced, telling dad jokes, just reinforced the kind of old nature of the brand. So we created this campaign called Ocean Spray, the superfruit that works as hard as you do. And I'll play this ad for you as well. I'm just gonna have to manipulate the screen again.
You're here.
Sorry, just need to do the new share.
You're here. You're there. And we're always here for you. Whether it's the first call or the last call, hitting the trails or punching the card, taking on the day or taking the kids to school, you take on life's challenges. To the sunrise chasers, carpool racers, the boardroom shakers, and the dream makers, we know there's a lot to juggle. For all the items on your to-do list, here's something on our to-you list. We're talking about Ocean Spray cranberries, the superfruit that packs a punch to power you through your day, to keep you moving, doing, and maybe even grooving, because you're not just one thing, and neither are we. Our growers are our owners, and together we are doers supporting doers, handing you a hardworking berry.
So again, really important for me to emphasize student written, student directed, student filmed, and that we again finished second in our district. I should point out that unfortunately that year we were competing. It's like you're the Buffalo Bills competing against New England Patriots. You can be the second best team in football, but if you can't get out of your division, it doesn't matter. And in fact, the team we finished second to in our division won the national championship for the AAF. And I'm friendly with that professor, and he has shared with me that he very strongly believes that our campaign would have been competitive at the national level. It was that good. I'm always really impressed by the work that the students do, and students involved in this campaign have gone on to jobs as copywriters, as account managers at ad agencies, working in media departments at ad agencies. And one of the things that this allows students to do is they have a body of work, a portfolio, an actual physical copy of the entirety of the campaign. And they always tell me that it is an incredible document that employers never get away from as they're doing the interviews, because it's such a big, impressive body of work. And so now I believe what I'm supposed to do is finally stop talking and allow one of the students to transition, and I'm going to have Hailey Watt introduce herself. Hailey's been a part of the NSAC, and she'll talk to you about that.
Hi everyone. So my name's Hailey. Just to give you a little background about myself, I'm a senior at Roger. I'm from Long Island, New York, if any of you are around here. I'm a marketing major and graphic design minor, so I wanted to call that out in case any of you are also interested in graphic design and pairing the two together. I can share my experience about that, or you can ask me questions later. So just some background about how I decided to get into marketing. When I was in high school, I created my company, Hailey by the Sea, to kind of showcase and feature my art just locally. And that kind of gave me a platform and a passion and appreciation for marketing, and then eventually graphic design and web design as well. So going into school, Professor Matos can remember I kind of knew what I wanted to do off the bat, which has allowed my journey to kind of develop from there. But I've also met a lot of talented peers along the way who didn't know they wanted to do marketing right away and have grown into it equally with me. Throughout my time at Roger, I've worked as a student designer in the Design Center, creating flyers and logos and different designs for different purposes on campus. That was a work study position I was very fortunate to have, so that's something to think about if you're in that kind of realm. And then last year, I was given the opportunity to apply for the Stickle Scholarship through the American Advertising Federation with the help of Professor Matos. And because of that, I was selected as one of the top 15 advertising students in the country. So that was a rigorous scholarship application process, and it led to my internship this past summer with MWWPR in New York City. So there, I was a creative associate, and I got to work with the creative team and sit down on brainstorms and meet famous people and go to PR events. So that was a great experience that has only confirmed my marketing passion from there. And as Professor Matos has explained, I've been participating in the NSAC class the last 2 years with him. So he pulled me in last year as a junior, working on the brand Wiener Schnitzel, which I'll show you in a second. And then we'll get to what we've been working on this year as well later. So those are just some highlights. I want to feature some of my design work so that you can see even outside of marketing, the university is very dedicated to experiential learning. So those are from my design classes and making sure that we're working on projects that we can add to our portfolios so that employers can see we're able to apply our design concepts to real life things like making ink packages for ink and light bulbs and cookies and whatever else it is, and then some other different concept ideas. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm going to show you what I've been able to do with NSAC and the marketing department over my time here.
Hey, Hailey, just before you do that, I was wondering if you can talk about your ICC involvement.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know maybe not all of you are dead set on marketing yet, so you may just want to know a little bit more general information about campus life. So like my friend Ben, who will be introduced in a little bit, I've been on ICC for 4 years. It stands for the Interclass Council. It's similar to student council in your high schools. So I started out as freshman class secretary, and then later that year ran for executive chair, which was my position the last 3 years. So the Interclass Council basically plans class-wide events just to kind of make memories with your classmates. So we plan everything from like a freshman luau all the way up to commencement ball, which is like senior prom on steroids, we say. It's huge, and it's a great experience for your resume too, because you get to kind of talk about how you've grown communication skills working with 25 other students. You've planned campus-wide events with budgets that most students won't ever see. So it has a lot of tactical skills too that I've been able to add to my resume and broaden my experience overall.
Thank you.
So last year, our NSAC brand was Wiener Schnitzel, which was kind of a curveball. If you guys don't know Wiener Schnitzel, just like Taipei, don't feel too bad about it. It's a fast food chain on the West Coast, known for their hot dogs. And so the case kind of prompted us to destigmatize the hot dog. I know everyone kind of enjoys when at a good barbecue or a baseball game, but the brand wanted us to kind of expand those horizons and make consumers realize that it's okay to just have a hot dog on a regular day, on your commute home from work, on a Tuesday night when you don't know what to feed the kids. So that kind of was a challenge in itself because our target was a little bit wide, and it was a little bit hard to understand the angle we wanted to take in destigmatizing the hot dog. Did we want to be humorous? Did we want to be educational? So we kind of met somewhere in the middle, and we actually created the Certified Honest Seal. So it was a seal that was going to be placed on hot dog packaging that other brands could participate in, just to kind of make consumers feel, I guess, confident that their hot dogs were made of 100% real cuts of meat, just like the Wiener Schnitzel hot dogs. So that kind of gave us a platform to educate consumers about what was in their meat, but we were also able to have fun with it through our ads. But that's kind of where we went with Wiener Schnitzel, and I got to be a graphic designer and on the creative team, so the great experience, which helped me for this next year.
So Hailey, if I could just interject, what I love about the ad campaigns and the National Student Advertising Competition is that every year it's different. So Hailey is actually repeating the class because it's a different client this year, and she'll talk about that client. You know, one year we're talking to consumers about a brand they don't know, trying to introduce a frozen food. The next year you're talking about a brand like Ocean Spray that a lot of people know and love, but you're trying to change the way people think about it. Here with Wiener Schnitzel, we're trying to take a hot dog and make everybody feel like, you know what, you can eat a hot dog and not die, right? And it's all these different challenges and trying to figure out exactly, you know, what the issue is, hone in on the right message, and then develop an interesting campaign that's very effective. Again, we finished second last year. And the one thing I would note is this professor who I mentioned, who beat us again, told me after the competition that he actually thought we beat them. And his wife had told him she thought we beat them as well. But we weren't the judges, nor was his wife, unfortunately. So we had to take the second place. So now I think Hailey's going to introduce Lauren. Is that what you're going to do?
Yeah, so Lauren is one of my classmates now in the NSAC class that we've been working on this year. So Lauren, you can introduce yourself from here.
Oh, hi everyone. I'm Lauren Gon Theor. I'm a senior as well, marketing major, graphic design minor, just like Hailey. I originally was really attracted to this school because of the small class sizes, the beautiful campus, of course, and I definitely got that. Like, I got amazing experiences out of this school. I didn't come in as a marketing major. I was actually a graphic design major, but the first class that I took in marketing in the business school, I realized that I loved the major, and doing that switch was really seamless. All my advisors and all the professors were just really helpful in that switch. I've gotten to do some really cool experiences while I've been here. I'm in NSAC with Hailey. I am currently a member of Delta Sigma Pi, which is the professional business fraternity. And that's a little bit different than a fraternity. This one is co-ed. It's professional, so it's more like a business club. And through that, I was able to really dip my toes into the business world, make connections, build my professional portfolio, I guess. And I was able to actually have a leadership position on there, and I've really built my professional skills through that. That was an awesome opportunity that I got to have. And then I did an internship over the last summer, and that was, I managed 5 different social media accounts, and I got to do some graphic design, some research, and that really gave me the skills to go into Marketing 302 ad campaigns and then into NSAC. But the Marketing 302, that was really crucial to my interest in advertising. And through that, I definitely realized that I want to do something in the creative field. And I got to do this campaign that you see here. We had the task of positioning Roger Williams as a school that offers personalized education on a unique location. And my group did that through the RWU YOU campaign, where we replaced U with different students' names, different activities. And through that, we really showed like the personalization, the genuine nature of our school. And we really showcased the beautiful campus. And Professor Matos can show you the 30-second video right here.
Yeah, and I'll just interject briefly. I was wildly impressed with the work that Lauren and her team did. You know, the shots that they took really highlighted the campaign. So this was a class where, you know, the project was hands-on. There wasn't an external client. We were doing this as a campaign for Roger Williams. But the task was still to create an integrated advertising campaign. So you see a number of different advertising elements, and I'll click on the bottom right in the screen where you see the bridge, an ad will pop up and you'll see the 30-second ad that she and her team created. again, I think really well done. It's something that Lauren now has as part of her portfolio. And that's actually her website that she's begun to develop in order to create a portfolio for her to look to get creative jobs and marketing jobs post-graduation. And now I think we're going to have Hailey and Lauren tag team talking about the next topic.
Yeah, so I can start us off and then hand it over to Lauren. So this year, our client for the NSAC competition is Adobe, which you may have heard of for maybe their creative tools like Photoshop or Illustrator. But this campaign is focusing more on a specific product or service that they provide, which is the Adobe Experience Cloud for advertising. So we're essentially advertising to advertisers, which differs from past years for the competition because it is a B2B business to business campaign rather than business to consumer. So that was a challenge definitely in the research portion of the semester and has kind of, you know, really broadened our experience. I know personally it's been kind of a good situation for me to have Wiener Schnitzel last year as a B2C experience and then have Adobe this year for B2B. And Lauren's going to talk about her role in the class and then I'll talk about mine.
Yeah, so I was brought into the class a little bit late. It's a 2-semester class, and after my campaign with Roger Williams, I joined this class. So it was definitely a real challenge, but I joined on the creative team. I'm a copywriter, so I help write all of the messaging that you would see. It's been awesome because it works sort of like an agency would work. So I really feel like I've gotten that really good experience to be able to bring into the job post-grad. And I've worked directly with Hailey. She's a designer, so that's been awesome.
Yeah, so to kind of, Lauren hasn't given herself enough credit, but we explored a lot of different approaches, as I mentioned, on how to position this Adobe service to actual advertisers. You know, it's kind of tricky to advertise to advertisers. So we brainstormed probably over a dozen different campaign ideas, and this one was actually Lauren's back in January. So she came up with the idea to do an assistant similar to Flow from Progressive or the Geico Gecko or any of those that you may be familiar with. So this is actually our classmate Nick, but we have called him Adam from Adobe. And he is basically your office assistant who has all the tools and the knowledge. So my role in the class has been art/creative director, and it's been really fun with the team to kind of brainstorm and get to this point where we have positioned this and we have a full-blown campaign with Adam integrated and communicating all of that. So I am way more prepared to take on a potential art director role in my future rather than, you know, just taking kind of still marketing classes. So the experiential learning that we have through this class and other classes at Roger makes us like way more prepared.
Okay, and then now we're going to transition to Ben. Ben, you want to introduce yourself? And
so hi everyone, my name is Ben Manning. I'm actually a junior at Roger Williams from South Jersey, Woolwich, New Jersey, which is right outside of Philadelphia. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the things that I'm involved with on campus, as well as kind of some of my marketing journey. In terms of my majors, I'm a double major in marketing and management. When I came into the university, I was actually just a management major. And so kind of through taking some classes, it was actually just last semester, I had been a marketing minor, and then Professor Matos actually approached me and said, Ben, why aren't you a marketing major? And it was kind of a difficult question to answer. That's kind of when I realized that I really did enjoy the marketing a little bit more, and decided to become a double major. And I also will actually end up finishing with a minor as well in professional and public writing. So much like Lauren, I kind of take more interest in the copy part of advertising. So for one of the campaigns in that Marketing 302 class that Lauren also talked about, for my campaign for Roger Williams, I worked a lot on the copy that our team worked and put out. And so our campaign was more focused on pursuing your passion in Roger Williams as an experiential learning destination. And so this is one of the ads that we had. So that was a really great experience for me. And then after that class is when Professor Matos approached me about joining the NSAC class for next year. So I'm not currently involved with it, but it is something I'm going to be jumping into in the fall time. In terms of some other involvement for me on campus, I am a member of the honors program. So during the question and answer afterward, if you have any questions about that, you can put that in the chat. I'm also a resident assistant on campus as well as a tour guide, which are both really awesome experiences. And then you see the interclass council down there as well. Hailey and I are both a part of that. I joined that my freshman year and have been involved with it ever since. So like Hailey said, it's been a really awesome experience. The other thing I want to talk to you all about is internship experiences. So I'm currently actually working in the athletics department at Roger Williams, I'm taking Professor Matt's sports marketing class. So doing both of those at the same time has been really helpful for me. And so I'm working on athletic communications. So putting out different promotional ideas, social media analytics, and a lot of other really great stuff for that internship. And then looking ahead to this summer, I'm going to be interning at a company called Line Data, which is in Boston. It's a financial services company, primarily financial software. And my role there is going to be marketing and working on a new advertising campaign that they're planning on putting out. So I'm really excited about that, hoping for that to get started. And then also through Professor Matos, I had the opportunity to apply for a position at Little League Baseball. Given some of the stuff going on in our world right now, that internship the details didn't end up working out for that. But I was offered the position at Little League Baseball, where I would have been a sponsorship intern, which would have been a really awesome opportunity. So I'm a little disappointed that didn't work out, but Professor Matos and many of the other faculty members at Roger Williams do a really awesome job of helping connect students with internship experiences that I've really certainly benefited from as well. So that's pretty much it from me here. I'm going to send it back to Professor Matos, who's going to talk about one of our business clubs here on campus.
Yeah, so if you are not a marketing major who happens to be really interested in advertising, don't worry. You know, marketing really has kind of a data-driven side and a communication side. In fact, we have two different tracks. You can take classes on both sides, but there is a data track. Students who are on the kind of the analysis track often join the analytics club. That's officially run by a management professor, but often is populated by marketing and management majors. And that club has been very successful in competitions as well. Most recently finishing first and second place in a national analytics challenge. And they finished in similar places over the last 3 years. Ever since they become involved in the competition, the Analytics Club has been really, really successful. And so if you're interested in the whole area of data analytics, predictive analytics, more marketing from an analytics side, we also have the capability and the program to allow you to do that. So for instance, I have a student who's in NSAC this semester who is officially on the contract, but he is actually minoring in business analytics. So he takes a number of other classes that allow him to also really do both sides of the marketing world, which is great. We mentioned the Community Partnership Center. I think Ben and Hailey are going to talk about, maybe give a brief backdrop on what the CPC is about, and then some of the projects that you guys have been involved in.
Yeah. So the CPC basically partners the university with the community around us, Bristol and surrounding towns, to help businesses or other initiatives kind of be student-led, and it helps us and it helps them. So it's a great partnership. And Ben, if you want to talk about what we participated in last semester.
Yeah, so particularly last semester, both Hailey and I were in a marketing research class where we worked with the town of Bristol, and we actually put out a survey or worked to put out a survey for the town of Bristol for a pool, like a community pool. And so that survey, we worked kind of the entire semester on setting up the survey that would be sent out to gauge interest in a community pool in Bristol. And then there's a lot of collateral that came with that. So there's an example of that here on your screen. And that's just one example of a class and a CPC project. There's numerous others, and many of them also do work across disciplines. So you're not just looking at marketing students working on something. One of the best examples was the Herreshoff Museum in downtown Bristol, where it was actually a group of management majors, marketing majors, architecture majors who all worked together to revamp an old building in Bristol and turn it into a boating museum. So that was a really cool project as well.
Yeah, and even another project, Ben, was, and I'm pretty sure it was a CPC project, was the Bristol Maritime Center, where as a result of the work of the students with the professor, they received a $900,000 federal grant
Yep.
work that the students did in the CPC project. This was a project my students did in a different class with Mount Hope Farm. Mount Hope Farm is a local farm just down the street from us. They're probably on campus most known for hosting a farmer's market on Saturdays. What a lot of people don't know is that they actually have an inn that people can stay at. And for a lot of the year, it's empty. So they came to us to ask for insights on how we might actually promote that inn. And this was some of the marketing collateral that the students developed in that class. And again, it's stuff that they can put on their portfolio. It's stuff that potentially could be actually utilized by the farm, and then it becomes that much more relevant and really useful for them as they move forward into their career. And then there are even classes, again, that are they don't go outside the university, but they deal with topics that are still relevant and still doing hands-on. This was a consumer behavior class where the topic was sexual assault, and students were asked to actually develop an advertising campaign to address that issue. And I think, Hailey, this was something in your marketing principles class?
Yeah, so marketing principles is actually a pretty, I took it my sophomore year, so it's one of the first marketing classes you would take, but we were still able to work with actual clients. So these are straight off of my portfolio. We worked with a number of different clients that semester to revamp their websites or develop a website from scratch if they didn't have one. So TESOL is a golf tee pencil combo company. Philomena Barboza is a independent attorney, and Jimmy's on the River is a restaurant. So right there's 3 different variations of clients that you could potentially have. And I was able to work on those my sophomore year, which, gave me leverage for the next 2 years for internships.
There are also student abroad opportunities on the left for the finance group, the Center for Advanced Financial Education. This was a trip that they took to Tokyo. The photos on the right, I believe, from the 4+1 MBA program, which did a trip to Asia over the spring break of last year. We're planning another trip this year. Of course, that got canceled. So I believe from the admissions or from the study abroad office, I understand that approximately 40% or thereabouts of our students do a study abroad intervention or project. That I think we happen to have 3 students who have not done that. But as I said, I think 4 out of 10. Ben, did you participate in one?
Yeah, I actually did do a study abroad trip. It wasn't focused on the business school, but so that's just to talk about how there are study abroad opportunities outside of your major as well. I actually got psychology credit for it and went to Jamaica and worked in the local schools there, which was really cool. It was a great experience. So even if you don't want to study abroad for one of your major classes, you can do plenty of study abroad experiences outside of your major as well.
And those can happen from a semester-long basis. They can also happen on an intersession basis.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of flexibility there. We have a number of student organizations. Some of them have been mentioned: Delta Sigma Pi, the business fraternity, the analytics club, a financial management club. Even some organizations that some marketing students are members of is the PRSSA, that's the Public Relations Club, that does a lot of things, including trips to ad agencies. Most recently, I think a trip out to PR agencies in California. They've done trips to New York. They've done trips to Boston as well. And each of the students has talked about internship opportunities they've had while at Roger. These are a number of the firms that we've had and placed internships with. Most of them, I would imagine, you recognize. And so we really always focus on, this experiential learning, hands-on. We don't want our students to be graduating basically with the ability to take tests. We want them to have a track record of success, have experiences outside of the classroom and inside the classroom that can develop their skill set that position them well for the marketplace. So that's what we have for you And I guess now Colton will open it up to questions.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you all for providing that information. I hope everyone that's on the call today has found that helpful. Now we have some time available that we can spend on questions. So you can feel free to ask those questions in the chat, as I mentioned before, or you can feel free to ask those questions by turning on your microphone.
That first question is always the tough one.
Okay, so first question, is there a specific laptop you recommend for marketing majors?
I'm going to let Hailey or Lauren or Ben address that.
So I don't think Ben has a Mac, but I personally have a MacBook, and it's pretty universal. Most students on campus, I mean, I think it's pretty split, but I think more students on campus have MacBooks, and mine has lasted all 4 years. So, and I'm on it constantly for design and other purposes. So it's pretty reliable.
Yeah, especially if you're wanting to get into the graphic design, I think they recommend you have a Mac.
Yeah, I think graphic design, you know, people with that kind of interest often have Macs. I think it's also because they think it's cool. So there's that as well. So.
And also, oh gosh, I forgot.
Oh, go ahead, Hailey. Yep.
What?
Were you going to say something? Sorry, I didn't know if I cut you off.
Oh, the university also provides like free Microsoft Office apps. So if you're worried about like Windows versus Mac, you still get the Microsoft services, even if you have a Mac.
That's a great point. So the next question is, if you're really interested in advertising, what would you recommend as a minor to pair with the marketing major?
Well, if you're interested in advertising, I do think that you see, you know, both Hailey and Lauren, who really are focused on kind of the creative aspect. Graphic design is very, very helpful. You know, I think the students who have an ability to show, and I think this is true in whatever, whether you're interested in advertising or not. The reality is, when I was a marketing major, you know, if you could come out and say, I'm strategic, I work hard, I know about marketing, that got you the job. But the reality is anymore that marketing majors are coming out with some other very tangible skill sets that allow them to say, yeah, I can do that, but I can also build you a website. I can build you a micro page. I can build you, you know, I can do some graphic design. That means that these companies don't have to go out and hire an agency for every single thing that they have to do, right? So I think that for people, for advertising, graphic design. Having said that, you know, advertising is of two worlds, right? You have art direction, creative, and you also have copywriting. If you really wanted to be a copywriter, you might really want to take some classes in creative writing. You know, I had a person who was, I think, actually a creative writing major with a marketing minor because that was their interest. So there's also, I think we have a visual arts minor that might be relevant, but anything that adds to your ability to deliver advertising content, I think would be useful. Maybe Hailey and Lauren, you have other thoughts there?
Yeah, I would just say, like, I know design doesn't always, like, it may seem daunting if you don't personally think of yourself as like artsy or creative, but I know plenty of my peers in my design classes, you know, went into it for that pairing opportunity and have, you know, they approach it like more strategically or from a different angle than me, but they produce work that's like I am very impressed with all the time. So I would just say, even if you don't think graphic design is for you, it could be. And like Professor Mato said, there's other routes you could go to.
Okay, great. And next question is, what's a typical salary for someone coming out with a marketing major?
I don't actually have that kind of information. I apologize. That's just not information. I think maybe the placement office would have that. You know, anything that I have would be anecdotal in nature. I would say that what I'm hearing from students which again is truly anecdotal, is numbers in the 40s range, something like that. I don't know how accurate that is or is not, so I don't know, Hailey, if you have, been told any ranges for, I know you're up, for a potential opportunity that you're looking at. I don't know if you've been told what salary range it is.
I haven't yet, and I would just say, like, based off what we were just talking about, like having whatever else pair with marketing definitely increases that number. But I would say the average is like 40 or 50, depending where you are.
Right.
Okay. And the next question, these next two are related, but regarding internship opportunities, if you have something specific in mind, are faculty able to help you obtain it, or are there only the ones specifically mentioned with the university that have been worked with? And then a side question that's somewhat related, the percentage of students that complete at least one internship before graduating.
Again, I don't actually have the numerics, so I'm going to have to rely on anecdotals and just my insights. And so first of all, with regard to the percentage of students, I think more and more students are coming out with 2 internships, not 1, right? Like, I think, so I think if you are coming out of undergrad without an internship anymore, you are going to have a difficult conversation as to why you did not do that. And the reality is, you may not ever have the chance to have that conversation because your name won't be picked from the list of resumes. There are plenty of internship opportunities available. They might not all be the thing that you absolutely want to do, but there are definitely internships available. And so I think you have to, to think about that. In terms of how you get them, if you have a specific interest, you can talk to your professor. We are now part of a software package, I don't know how you would define it, called Handshake. That allows employers actually from all across the country to enter internships. So we not only now get access to internships that are, by specific companies that we are aware of locally, but there are internships that are put in across the board. And we've had success with students finding internships outside the area through Handshake. I don't know if either any on the call, Hailey, Lauren, or Ben, if you use Handshake or are familiar with anybody who's used Handshake effectively to get an internship.
Yeah, I would just jump in on that question, both for Handshake and for opportunities. In terms of Handshake, I do know students that use it. I've used it kind of the same way I've used LinkedIn to look for internships, and reached out and applied for a couple jobs or internships based off of the Handshake site. And then in terms of if you know what you want to do, professors are a really great resource to use. So for me personally, I actually reached out to Professor Matos and said, I'm really interested in sports marketing. And that's when he helped me to get in contact with Little League Baseball through a contact that he had there, which really got my foot in the door, which was really helpful there. So if you know what you want to do, talk to your faculty members, talk to your professors, because, especially professors like Professor Matos, they have a lot of connections with all the experience that they have. So definitely, if you know what you want to do, reach out to your faculty members.
Yeah, and I would say on the other hand too, all of my internship and outside opportunities haven't been through the school. If you're someone who doesn't really like to go through all of those steps, mine have all been through personal friends or family members, referrals, or just kind of passing it along to me. So that method is still around, and I'm a big fan of it. So
yeah, I did use some things on Handshake, but I think I found my internship through Indeed. Yeah.
Great. So the next question, I know we've talked about specifically with some of your backgrounds, the benefit that graphic design can play with marketing, especially for folks that are interested in that creative aspect. But one of the students is asking, how involved is graphic design with marketing? So do you feel that it's something that needs to be incorporated, or other pathways within the program?
I'll jump in, and then I'll invite the students to jump in as well if they have another point of view. As I said, I think there are kind of more and more different streams in marketing, right? There is the creative aspect, but there is also the analytical aspect as well. And so there are plenty. Look, I struggle drawing the stick figure, but I had a pretty good career in marketing and think I could do so again based on my analytical skills and my strategic skills, right? I do think that the more you can pick up additional skill sets, the better off you're putting yourself, right? So I think, again, being able to have some of those skill sets help. But if you're like me, who really is intimidated by that kind of stuff, one, you should try to get over it because you won't break it. I'm always worried I'm going to break it. You won't break it, right? But the other thing is that there's still a path for you. There are still plenty of opportunities in marketing for those who are not creatively, oriented. So maybe others want to jump in on that.
Yeah, I think in the last like 2 years or so, I've definitely seen an increase in even classes outside of like the business school that I've taken, and obviously outside of design classes, where there's been a need for like a designer to kind of help with a group project or something. Like someone who's always been appointed, like even if it's just designing a presentation, obviously you can learn those skills and like techniques through different ways in taking design courses, but I do think it is very intertwined with more than originally was when I first entered Roger. But like Professor Mato said, again, just like expanding those skills wherever you can. I remember, I think it was my sophomore year, I had told him I had done the website work for Professor Gonzalez, and he encouraged me to add web development as a minor, which timing didn't work out, but I still gained outside experience through my internships once I realized that that was something I should pursue.
Right. But so again, if you are like me, somebody who's not creatively oriented, getting a Google Analytics certified, getting Hootsuite certified, there are other things that you want to add, because you want to be able to have as many, things on your resume that indicate whatever area of marketing you are looking to do, that you have, really worked hard to build your total portfolio of skills. And that's what I would advocate, right? Whatever area, if it's not creative, fine, then I'm going analytics and I'm going to really show that I can do that kind of stuff, that I have the aptitude and that I had the drive to do it. If I'm going creative, then I do want to build that stuff. If I'm doing copywriting, then I want to have a portfolio with a wide-ranging body of work and maybe haven't taken some creative writing classes, so on and so forth.
And I would also say, from a different perspective, I have no graphic design in any of my majors or minors, but I do have professional writing. And so I'm not a graphic designer by any means at all, but I've found myself using different graphic design software to produce things for my classes. So I would say that even if you're not, like Professor Matos has said, even if you're not a designer, you're going to find yourself in those positions where you might be doing some design work. And I would just say embrace those opportunities to build your portfolio even more.
Okay, excellent. And Professor Matos, you already touched on this a little bit, but this next question, just when can you start with internships, and should you do more than one? I know you mentioned more often than not, students in the program are looking at potentially 2 internships. So do you typically recommend them looking as early as their first year, or once they get into second year?
Yeah, I think the earlier the better. I understand, however, there's also money, right? Often, early days, fresh after your first year, maybe you want a job that's actually paying money. A lot of internships are unpaid, so I get that. I do think there is an opportunity to pick them up during the semester as well, though. So I think getting multiple internships makes absolute sense. Hailey, when did you get your first internship?
Yeah, so my first actual internship was with Technology Therapy Group. Like I think I had a lot of things that I kind of framed as internships just to get an actual one. So that's helpful. But Technology Therapy Group, I got the end of my sophomore year and did it remotely into my junior year, and just as like a social media manager. So that was the end of my sophomore year, but again, through like a personal connection. I think my freshman year, I really worked hard on the Design Center, as silly as it sounds, to build like a portfolio so that I could actually, and then when I interviewed with TTG, I was like, yeah, this is my past internship with Roger Williams University. Like, here's what I have. So.
And there's a woman who went to Roger a number of years ago. She now owns her media planning agency called Norbella. and I've had her guest lecture in my class a number of times. And what she has said is they only take on interns who have had other internship opportunities already. They won't hire somebody as their first internship, right? So, you have people who are even that level, then in the workplace, they're definitely going to be looking for multiple internship opportunities. Again, just because they are out there. If you chase them, you can find them. I'm very confident of that there are internship opportunities. It can be a little daunting. I know you don't know where to start. Talk to your professor, visit the career center, talk to fellow students. I think they're available, and I think they really, so in sports marketing, for instance, I know Ben has an interest in sports marketing. It is not unusual for people to have 4 or 5 internships. There's an expectation that is the case. And then you're going to get your first job, and it's going to pay significantly less than what Hailey talked about with regard to marketing, because everybody wants to do sports marketing, right? So, it's definitely competitive out there, but there are opportunities.
And I would say too, because especially being a graduating senior, especially right now during this time, knowing, a lot of jobs say like 2 to 3 years of experience, and how are you going to get experience if that kind of dilemma. But like I said, I think one thing I really learned over my time at Roger is how to brand yourself and like make the most of your experiences so that you can gain more. So just thinking about it that way, even if you were, a PR chair of student council in high school, like how do you explain that to get your next opportunity and keep building off of them?
Okay, excellent. So that wraps up the questions that we've had through the chat. Are there other questions that folks have that are still on the call right now? Okay. Well, thank you everyone for the time. As I mentioned before, I hope this was helpful information. Of course, for the high school seniors that are out there, best of luck as you're finishing up the year. We would have loved to have you on campus for our admitted student programs, but we do hope to see you in the fall. Reach out to myself or others on the admission side of things if we can help answer your questions. And then, of course, we will be offering a variety of the other department-led faculty and student sessions. So keep an eye out on your emails for other virtual opportunities, and let us know if you have any questions. Thanks for the time.